This is your daily market recap for January 6th, 2022. Let's go.
This is Dan Max at EXP Realty, aka the Trading Agent, and this is my stock, Bitcoin, gold, and silver daily market recaps. Please subscribe if you like what you see. Thank you.
This is Dan Max at EXP Realty, aka the Trading Agent, with our daily market recap for stocks, Bitcoin, gold, silver, as of, man, it is January 6th, 2022. Let's jump into it. So again, starting the Discord room. If you ever have questions about what's going on, want to get in touch with me, want to tell me I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, I don't care. Come on in and let's discuss it. Again, this is a good resource with tons of educational tools along the side. If you like what you're seeing, please subscribe. I guarantee you're going to pick something up out of all of this. Interesting times going on here because the seasonality of January is typically up. Well, the Fed minutes came out yesterday, which was interesting because they seemed pretty hawkish, meaning they were talking about raising rates. However, this is the actual headline from Wednesday that nobody's talking about, and it kind of boggles my mind because a record 4.5 million workers quit their jobs in November. You know what the feds do? They have a dual mandate. They have to minimize unemployment, and they want to minimize, or they want to control stable inflation. 2% is their target number. When this pops, this headline pops, and the reality is that this many people quit their jobs, they cannot raise rates. They are hemmed in to keep rates lower. And again, I always tell people, think about the fiscal deficit. You do not want to raise rates on yourself having a ton of debt. It'd be like having a credit card with $1 million of credit debt, and all of a sudden you raise your rates on yourself. You don't want to service that debt with this. All right, let's get into the Bitcoin. Big cup and handle as of right now, double bottom potentially. You know, we put out an alert that it was a buy right here with a stop, and meaning if it was wrong, you're out. Well, guess what? Support equals resistance, and you are retesting the lows as of December, 4th. Man, it's almost a month to the T almost. And here you are retesting. Big volume, long wick bounce, chop, 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 chop. All these levels become support and resistance. We are back testing the old support. You have a long wick doji right here on the hourly candle, or 2 hour. This is again, so if you understand levels and you have tight stops, minimize your losses, you could be pulling the trigger here at 42,500. And, you know, what's the upside again? Well, if it's a big cup and handle and plays out, you're good. And if you lose $100 of Bitcoin, well, then you don't give a shit because the risk was worth the reward. I mean, there's easily thousands of points upside at this point. Know your stops, know, exchanges, know what the hell's going on, because be aware that if you do know Bitcoin, it's choppy. It's not friendly at times. TLT, I put out an alert about this yesterday, and I put out an alert on Twitter. So what you had here is what I call a 2-day range. You got a doji, and then you have this like big red candle. And notice how they have equal highs and equal lows. The thing that happened today that maybe most people don't realize, this is an outside reversal day now. Think about the process of this action. And again, we're talking about rates. This TLT is inverse to the rates. When the TLT goes higher, the bond market yields go down. So you gap below, because here's the open. You close at 142.94. You open at 142.58. You make a lower low, boom, and then you close back inside this candle. So this is called an outside reversal, meaning outside the 2-day range and reversing back into the range above. Now, is that bullish short term? I think it is. I mean, I've done multiple videos how I ultimately think like we're in a big choppy ass range in the bond market, and there's no way they're raising rates. And again, keep in mind the rates were much lower, say in 2020, but we can't, when I started, oh man, this mouse sucks. When I started trading, I always tell you, I'm like, look where the interest rates were on the TLT. It's way the hell down here. We're in the 80s, in which put yourself into like a 5 to 6% bond market. Like again, this is just an ETF that has liquidity to match the action in the bond market. We're at 143. Come on. Like the rates are still historically insanely low. They've never been this low for this period of time. So you do have to be aware of this kind of head and shoulders potentially like trend lining up like to a down move, but the Feds are the ultimate manipulator. They've kept interest rates low. I mean, keep in mind, we had CPI at a 40-year high last year, and interest rates are still near the lows. Like, that tells you a lot. Low interest rates, if what is going to happen to interest rates when actually inflation tames, because year over year, month over month, it slows down, like the rate of change. The dollar make you holla. Big uptrend, blow out of the upside of it, hits the resistance zone. Zoom out to the left to see why. Now we're in this big chop box, and again, I mean, chop boxes are normal for the dollar. Not every day is up or down, but I am under the assumption that at some point we will drop. We're chopping in this box, leading to preceding the next move. Remember, chop precedes big moves potentially, because what it does is it shakes out all the weak hands, all the indecisive people, and leaves you only with the people who will not be trading it, in the sense that they're waiting. Like, the action has no effect on them. The VIX, again, watch the previous videos, talked about this. The volatility index was compressing here. We noticed that big run up when the market dumped, a lower high, no, a lower low, and then doji, chop, chop, another hammer, boom, breakout. Now we're back at the 2021 level. That shakes some weak hands. Again, I think the seasonality will take us to higher prices ultimately sometime in the first quarter. But be aware, you went from 15 to 35 and back down to 16. It was due to pop. I mean, keep in mind, there's no such thing as straight line moves. Like, you get chop. So, I mean, there are straight line moves, but the probabilities are low. And again, as a probability-based trader, you're not sitting here betting on the low probabilities. You're trying to assume the things that are actually going to happen. The SPY hit the 50-day doji. Now, this is where, if you are new to trading, here's a term that I'm going to throw at you, and you can Google it. Maybe I'll do a back to basic video on it, because you guys know I do a lot of educational videos. We might be forming what I call a Doji Sandwich. And a Doji Sandwich is a formation that, when you see the doji, you think it's a bottom, but it can either turn in, or it can become a sandwich, meaning it's sandwiched between the continuation candle and goes lower. It's a pattern you see occasionally. Let me see if I can find one on a previous trend real quick, because maybe it doesn't make sense in between. Here's a doji sandwich. You had an up doji, and then you continue on. But when you see this pattern, when it first happens, it's an indecision candle, so you don't know if it ultimately is going to be a continuation or a change, because anyone who studies dojis, you realize, like, they're at highs, but every once in a while they get sandwiched in between the movements, and that's where they can be really tricky. Again, it's sandwiched between the movements. So doji's indecision opens and closes at the same price. It's a very old school signal that makes you worry, not necessarily worry, just it's like you need more evidence. It doesn't tell you anything with confirmation. So see the doji at the bottom and then flip. Well, is this a doji and about to rip higher, or is it going to be a doji sandwich and go lower? Today's action precedes the jobs numbers on Friday, and we were talking about this in the Discord room. You know, what do you expect the day before the jobs number? Chop. I mean, you don't really expect a lot, because everyone's waiting for the number tomorrow. So of course it's a doji. So that's where I'm on red alert. It could be a continuation pattern. It doesn't necessarily mean it's a bottom. Again, if you're not familiar with all this stuff, please check out the videos. Come by the room. I can try to answer it for you if I have the availability. If not, someone else there will. We all help out, because teaching is good for us. It's good for the soul. Makes us better. The Qs. What do we say? Watch out for this chop zone. We could not retest highs, and then there you go. So now if you're watching the Qs, the 100-day, I'm going to draw this. It's not really meant to be scientific for exact price, but notice the yellow line. That's the 100-month moving average, or the 100-day, I apologize. And then watch this black support zone. We're very close to it. So 378, 379 area. Again, don't draw charts with exact bottoms and tops, because this is horseshoes and hand grenades. You're trying to be close, not nail exact prices, because if you can nail the exact prices, I mean, I can do that occasionally, but I don't expect to. Like, I don't have this mindset that I know who is the last order to sell or who's the last idiot to buy at the highs. Like, it just doesn't work like that. Gold, this was all right, there's a recap today about the intraday action. I talked very clearly about it potentially fill the gap or touch this Fibonacci. This is, and here's the go. This is where yesterday's action, I mean, if you watch me, I'm like, I don't like it, because what happened? You filled the gap, made a lower high, and look at this big open candle, and then you had decent volume. Well, today You gap down and you hovered and you open and close near. So again, it's another need more information type of candle. If you have the wherewithal and the powder to pull triggers, you can start loading here, because the indecision means it could be higher or lower next. But either way, you have stops. You don't really sit here and you go, well, I got to do this and I got to do that. No, let the market tell you if you're right. The silver was a nice little action today, because this is something that we were watching very tightly. I said, fills the gap. When you fill a gap, back testing, just watch the action. Well, I like green candles, because when you gap down big, you have every reason to continue, but someone is literally absorbing the shares as it drops a big amount and closes higher. That tells you it's not me, myself, and friends buying these shares and stopping this drop. It's the big dogs. It's the whales. It's not the cookies and crumble of investors. It's people with actual cash to move markets. So I like this action in silver. People are going to probably freak the hell out, but we'll see what happens. I'd like to see what happens. The GDX, not too excited about today's candle. I mean, you can see why. You have this big up, chop, double bottom. You're hoping this is a high or a low. Keep in mind, this level right here at 30, what happened? We broke below it and came right back up. Could we break below it for a day or two and then come right back? You bet your ass you can. Yeah, so watch out for a bear trap and watch out for a test of the 28s. I mean, it's in a spot where you can start feeler betting, as I call it, like feel out what to do next. Same thing with the GDXJ. You had this nice doji gap down, long hammer right back in there. This 40 area is important. I mean, let's go out some of the longer term time frames. You can see we're at the bottom end of the range. I think you're hunting the right area. Now, is it going to turn around tomorrow? I don't know. But if you like to do what I call buy low, sell high, you are in the right area. All right, AG. This was interesting because, again, you gap down doji. I mean, you filled the gap. All these miners, I mean, keep in mind sometimes they have the ability to be manipulated price-wise short term, where they can get pretty wild and loose. They know how to shake people out. KL, absolutely brutal, but testing a level, high volume high and high volume lows. Look where it bounced exactly on the level. That's what you're watching for. You want to see a reversal immediately if you're bullish, but could it fill the gap at 38, 88? All of these things put in the mindset where your starting point and where you should exit. And again, if you buy it here and then you start buying some down in 38, if it breaks below it, you're gone. I mean, that's just how simple it is. I like binary thought process because, again, if you want to make trading real difficult with a million indicators and a bunch of other bullshit on your charts, you're still going to end up in the same spot, probably a loser, because that's the probabilities. 95% of traders fail. This level, again, 23. I mean, all these miners fill the gap. You're in a hunting zone. You're in an absolute hunting zone. You could start pulling the trigger. Let's talk about letter X, because this is one of our nice wins that we've had. We talked about this 22 area and when it broke the downtrend. I don't really like, I said this, I'm not a big fan of long wick hammers after a decent little up move. Well, today had a gap fill, and then you apologize, let me clear off something that's bothering me on my charts. Much fresher and cleaner. Yes, you fill the gap and then your close still above it. So this is, again, where if people try to play Jim Cramer and tell you what's going to happen every day, you need more information. Some days don't matter. One day doesn't make a trend. You just have to remember that. VALE, oh my gosh, this thing is just on the stair step ready to break out. It's in this tight consolidation pattern. It is holding up incredibly well compared to the stock market overall. It is outperforming. That's telling you something. Get over this 14.15, 14.20 range, and I think this thing is about to cook. It's just that simple. All right, let's get into tech, the sector that I'm just warning people consistently. Be careful long term, because your upside is limited. Big uptrend, channel high, fail, head and shoulders top. Again, if you don't know what any of these concepts are, please check out the educational videos. Yeah. What did we say? Up here, be careful. Now you make a lower high, and you're back at these levels. People who are super emotional about AMD are like, oh, this thing's the best. It's the best. You know what? They make great chips. But their stock might need to consolidate, and that's all it is. And it needs to rest, and it needs to shake out weak hands, because it did a double. It went from, whatever, 60, 70, 80 to 164. Went up 100%. That could make someone's year, and almost like did it in months. So you take the money, you let it run, and now you can start buying it back in the 120s. I like it in this blue box. I think it will have a significant bounce if you get down here. Pray that when it hits the blue box, the 200-day is there with it, because then you really got a general that it won't be able to storm and take over and go higher. Bounce spot. Good old Apple. He said watch this upper range, and when it failed. Today's candle ultimately, though, I don't think is that bearish. Again, when you gap down and you kind of open and close where you started, keep in mind there is a gap to fill at 168, 169.83. I think we talked about the 20-day was a buy last time. You broke it. I mean, that was a good trade. 168 up to 182. I mean, if you took some profits, now you're looking to back into this one. I still ultimately think Apple sometime in the first quarter will test the upper trend line on the monthly. Let's just keep it simple, stupid. That's all you need to do. MicroStrategy said, watch out for the 500 level. Well, knowing MicroStrategy, of course it went below 500, and then it dojied right at 500, give or take a point. That's for a stock that moves 30, 40 points. Being within $1 is pretty good. So anyway, all right, back into it. Yeah, this is interesting. If Bitcoin is going to bottom, MicroStrategy is it is a way of playing Bitcoin in the sense that they own a ton of it. So I would just keep that in mind. It's a good way of playing Bitcoin without playing Bitcoin in a sense. So keep an eye on it. I mean, I said if it couldn't hold here, it was going to 500. Well, guess what? You're at 500. Today's action could be a bear trap. The volume isn't great, but keep in mind, like, all these people have been, this is a downtrend. This is absolute selling. Like, people might, at the lows, the volume might lighten up, because guess what? It's just been plastered. I mean, how many days in a row can it be sold before the volume starts to die down? Think of it as, you're running a marathon, and by mile 24, you're getting a little tired. Well, that's how the stock is. It's getting tired. There's not many sellers left, ideally, because if you bought up here and you haven't sold yet, what are you waiting for? What are you waiting for? Yeah, exactly. Roadblocks. This is interesting because we talked about this blowout to the 140 and take your money. Now we're into the zone I like. Said this blue area, 200-day. Look what it did, Doji. Now again, you went from 140. This is why you take profits. I hate to like raise my voice and sound angry, but this is why you take profits. To buy low, like we identified, to sell high. Yes, you sell high. Now what? Now you can buy low again. It's, if you think it's going higher in time, this is a good buy zone. This is anywhere down under 80, 90. It's probably a good term. Again, horseshoes, hand grenades. Horseshoes, hand grenades. If you want to be exact, well then guess what? Grab a crystal ball and see if you can guess the exact low every single time, and come back to me in a year from now and tell me how great you are at that, because you're gonna suck at it. Let's do RIVN first. I apologize. I got stopped out of this yesterday. Thank you, Lord. However, 97 got stopped out. Our friend Clint showed me a nice little trend line that he thought was interesting, and it's like, oh, look at them apples. Well, look at that. And it held it. So is it bullish now? Let me kind of tinker with this. It's one of those things where it's only really bullish in my mind if you can get back over the IPO price. But as I showed him yesterday, like Facebook, it went up to 60 post IPO and then got absolutely demolished. Could RIVN be doing the same thing? It's always possible. Keep in mind, I mean, all these people are dead. They're all dead. There's a bunch of dead bodies on the beach. They're all dead. Well, if they're all selling down here at some point, what's going to happen naturally? The market maker is going to absorb all that inventory and they will take it higher. I'm going to give myself a pat on the back again for being basically right on Tesla. Again, we said sell up here on the double doji after the big monster move. We said this was your game over candle. Big volume, big price action. That's the game over candle. You back tested it. Game over again. We said, watch this area. You filled the gap. Rip back to the game over area. And what happened? You dropped. I also said if you break the trend line, go higher short term. Well, now you're in this dilemma. If you're a long or a bear, which way does it go next? Well, guess what? This is where you lower your position size and you can go, well, let it do what it's going to do. Now, again, if I want to be a bull, then I want it to drop. If I'm a bear, it needs to go sooner than later. The 20-day clearly held. That's your eye in the pie sky. Keep an eye on it, whatever. PENN Gaming, this one stopped me out yesterday too. Doji today. Now again, if it can get back over the 47.85, maybe you could rebuy it. I tell people bottoms can be extremely frustrating because they're choppy. Well, chop precedes the next move, so we'll see what happens. Now, I don't necessarily have a position at this point, but if you see it get back over the 20-day, or if you want to start loading down here, it's a very binary decision. Lose $1 to make maybe 20 if you're right. That's the kind of stuff you need to look for. Good old EXPI got real interesting today. What did we do? We hit our trend line. I will take a bow for that. Yeah, this is one that we put out an alert for to watch. I like it in this blue zone. 27.28. You got a real estate rally coming up in the first, second quarter. Real estate always gets cooking then. Don't overthink it. XOP, what did we say? What did we say? Break the downtrend with volume. There's the volume accelerating. That's the downtrend breaking. Look at that. It went higher. Yesterday's candle was not very cool, but look what you got. A doji in there and an inside day. Now you got a multi-day range. You can say below 101.73, short, over 106, continuation. That's the kind of stuff you like. ExxonMobil, here's another one that we can pat ourselves on the back for. What did we say? Break the downtrend with volume. You broke the downtrend with volume. If you don't know what volume means, it means demand. That's really what the simple is. When you break something with volume, it means there's demand. There we go. Higher highs. Congratulations. Golf clap. All right. I hope this kind of stuff helps. Again, check out the Discord room. Please subscribe if you have any general interest in learning to trade. Now, again, I can't teach you everything because, as I've always taught, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. You have to take the reins to learn, but ultimately there is a ton of good information here, and hopefully it benefits you. I will talk to you gals and guys later.
Thanks for watching. For more trading knowledge and insight, click on the videos on the right, and also join the Discord room. Link is in the description below. If you have any questions, please stop on by the Discord room and let's chat. Thank you.